What's up? What's up? What is up? And welcome to the Dr. Ali Griffith Show, Mindset, Meditation, and Motivation. Ooh, juicy, juicy, juicy today. Y'all are going to thank me for this one. Y'all want to stay tuned because today we have an amazing, amazing mama who's going to be talking to us about, let's talk about sex, baby. And we're going to be talking about launching your brand. So now see how we're going to blend those two. Check it out. All right, all right, all right. So we are in for a special treat, like I mentioned earlier in the intro. I'm so excited to have Miss Yulinda Renee, who is a trauma-informed, board-certified sex therapist, who is here to talk to us about how she even decided to do that. Like, how you did that there? Who gets up in the morning and said that, you know what, I'm going to choose my personal brand to talk about sex. Now, if y'all out there questioning why I'm even coming to this, is the fact that you need to understand that when you choose your personal brand, that it got to be something about you. So tell us a little bit about you and why you even chose that as that area, or did it choose you?
A little bit of both. It chose me. I have been running away from the idea of making this my brand for a while, right? Because who talks about sex, right? That's not what we do. So I'm a therapist by trade. My clinical practice, I worked with a lot of people who unfortunately had issues or had experienced sexual trauma. And so with that being the case, I decided to go back to school so I can be more informed about how to work with those clients. And as I was picking, because I'm getting my doctorate in clinical sexology, as I was picking my track, one of the things I was able to choose was kink. And I'm like, I could choose kink, I can choose criminals, I can choose this. I think I'm gonna choose kink. That sounds like more fun, right? So I chose to create safe space for especially people of color who identify as kinky because we just don't have many spaces where we can have really open conversations without judgment about what that looks like. And I decided to make it my brand and to work with women primarily who have become detached from their sexual awareness. What does that mean to be sexually aware? And why are we detached from it? Is it because we're a mom and we got shit to do? Is it because we got the kids? Is it because of work? Is it because of trauma? And how do we find those barriers, break them down, and step fully into our goddesshood, whatever that looks like? However, we want to represent in that sexual freedom, let's do that without judgment and do it with pizzazz.
Pizzazz, right? So I know a lot of you out there are thinking, well, dang, I didn't know I could choose a personal brand that talks about something that I actually enjoy doing. That's why she's here, to let you know that it doesn't have to be in the box, but think out of the box and do something that you are actually enjoying. So, how did you have this conversation with your family and tell them, all right, y'all, I'm going from this amazing therapist. Not that you changing being a therapist, but you just choosing a different space to therapize people. Yeah, I made that word up, y'all. Like, how did you have that conversation with them?
You know what? I didn't at first, right? I didn't have a conversation. I just did what I wanted to do, right? I wasn't looking for permission or any type of feedback at that point. I wanted to go out and do it because this is what I wanted to do. And once I made the decision, I informed. I didn't ask, I informed. So I kind of told my mom, hey, mom, this is what I'm doing. I got a podcast called From This, and This, From Childhood to Sacred, Sex, and the Raw. I told my partner, like, this is what I'm doing. And everybody was kind of like, okay, you know what I mean? Because I just told them I didn't ask for permission. And when I went to California as part of my research for my kink conscious certification, I told my partner, this is what we're doing. And I included him in that process. So he won't feel like he's not part of this whole process with me. So I informed him, I communicated. Right, I let them know what was going on, and knowing that they were a part of the process helped them become more comfortable with what this looks like. So that's how that went.
How long ago did this happen that you had this awakening that this is the direction that you go? When did you make that final yes? Was it like something that was coming up a little bit, that was piquing your interest, but you're like, nah, not yet? And then like, nah, not yet. Like, tell us a little bit more about that process.
Yeah, it was a lot of nah, not yet. Because when I kept telling people, oh, I'm a sex therapist, everybody like, do it. And I was like, I'm more of a clinical spiritual therapist. What about that? And every time I tried to go in this lane, something kept bringing me back because people kept asking the questions, people kept wanting to know. And that's what kept coming up. People kept having these issues or wanting safe space to talk about sex and sexual issues. So I just kept getting pulled back. And I finally said, you know what, Yulinda, this is where you're needed. You have the tools. You are doing a disservice to your people by not stepping into this gap. So it is part of your purpose, and you are being chosen to step into the gap. So stop being disobedient.
Ooh, somebody needed to hear that today because I felt it all through my soul. When you are choosing something and you're declaring to folks that this is where you're heading in the direction, and it's not something that's being spoken about every day. There's something about what I've loved about my area of passion. There are always these unique spots, these areas that no one else is hitting. And it's that space where at first, if you're uncomfortable with yourself, then you're not it's hard to tell anyone this is what you're doing,
Yeah.
as most of us are now. And I know most of my listeners and viewers are in well over their 30s, and for those that are younger, it's great that you get to hear this earlier. Embracing that part of you that may be, taboo, or something that what people may not be used to hearing about. But now in today's time, it's that having those conversations that people are not comfortable having. How do you make it easier for folks to have conversations about that?
Well, first of all, I call it radical non-judgment. I'm not here to judge anybody. And oftentimes I'm a part of those communities. I consider myself kinky. I consider myself, you know what I mean? I do all of the things. And so you're not by yourself. Let's normalize these conversations around these different topics so people won't feel isolated or othered. Right. And so if we create space where they feel safe enough, then they're more willing to have the conversation. So that's what I do first. I use myself as an example. So yeah, I do this, and this. I like this, and this. What about you? And it's like, well, now that you mentioned it, you know what I mean?
You said it.
And that's how I help to create that space. It's just let them know there's no judgment. And, it's safe here to be your true and authentic self.
I love the way, God, the universe, whoever you guys choose to that you honor, works. How He brings you through these different areas in your life that comes back in. Because as a therapist, you know the importance of creating a safe space, and you know how to do it with ease. Like that's part of what He took you through. Who would have thought that He would have taken you through this to talk about sex and talk about kinky stuff? And the good thing about kinky is that for some reason they made kinky, and this is how I speak about with autism, they make it seem like if it's something bad. Why
Mm-hmm.
can't kinky be a fun word? Why can't kinky be something exciting? Why does it have to be associated with like them? And meanwhile, most of y'all got your thoughts. Most of y'all got your underlying things underneath your bed, underneath your closet, inside the closet, behind the closet door, way deep, deep, deep down behind. There go your king. So bring your king forward. Awesome, awesome. All right. So, do you do anything for like spiritual practices and as just as a brand? Like, how do you really align with yourself and help yourself with that process or work through yourself in that process?
Yeah, I do. I call myself the spiritual clinical counselor and sexual self-awareness coach because what I do is I use spiritual practices to help inform my clinical, work. And so I do that because when we're thinking about trauma or sex and things like that, a lot of times it can't just be gotten to from spoken word. You
Mm.
have to get through it through feeling. And so I do a lot of somatic healing, yoga and Reiki. I utilize tarot and oracles. It's just getting different access points to get to the root of whatever the issue is. And a lot of it shows up in our sexuality, whether or not we're not comfortable, whether or not we're not satisfied, whether or not we feel like we can't. And that's how it shows up. And I use that as an access point to get to, so why? Where's that coming from? What is that about? And then we have the conversation.
Ooh,
Yeah.
juicy, juicy. So, what would you say to our listener or viewer that is watching and they know they have that area of interest of moving into for launching their own brand that they think may be quote unquote unacceptable by society? How would you guide them? What would you tell them to do?
First, accept yourself, right?
Mm.
Getting to a place where you accept yourself in your totality. If you're still feeling some type of way of whatever your kink or whatever you're into, if you still feel some judgment around it, then you're going to inadvertently bring that into your business. You're going to inadvertently project that onto your clients. So you need to be really confident and sure about yourself 360 degrees. I learned that earlier from Dr. Ali. She mentioned that.
Yes, we do. Yes, we
Yes, you
do.
gotta be whole within yourself and love yourself and accept yourself 360 degrees. So then when you come into your business, you can exude that and you give your clients permission to do the same.
Ooh. So that's the whole deal, right? If you're not experiencing it for yourself, if you're not doing that work on yourself, and we were literally on her podcast, so I'm gonna definitely take this time to drop the name of your podcast, so you guys, if you want to see the other part of this conversation, she got a little deeper into the fun stuff. I'm covering like the launch your own brand type of thing, and moving into that. But if y'all want the real sex and the raw conversation, then what is the name of your podcast?
Yes, from shadow to sacred, it's sex in the raw. Yes.
Shadow to what?
From shadow to sacred, it
Mm.
is sex in the raw.
All
Yes.
right, so y'all heard that live and uncut. That's how you do a cross swap when you're doing podcasts, y'all.
Yes.
PS for those who need to pay attention. That's how we make sure that you can do both and you can bounce from here and bounce over there, so you can hit the other side of this conversation. I'm super excited just to have you. I do really short podcasts because I got the busy mamas out there who's out there probably taking care of the kids, one kid in the hand, trying to listen to this and find out what's going on.
Yes.
But here is one thing I wanted to ask you. When you were building your brand or even starting your brand, what were some of the things that kept coming in the way that were distracting from you growing it? What were some of
Time,
those things? Hmm?
especially as a mom, time management, figuring out a structure where you can be intentional about showing up as a mother, showing up as a mate if you're in partnership, showing up for yourself and showing up in your business, being able to structure your calendar in a way where you're hitting all those things intentionally. And to be real honest, that's still something I'm struggling with now. I'm better than where I was, at the beginning of last year, but it's still something I'm fine tuning. Yes, that time management piece is something, especially as a mother, right?
Yeah, awesome, and it's real deal, and it's something that we need to know that it doesn't just disappear. Like we're constantly. I literally just had a master class on this last night, giving my mom tips on how to create time saving techniques because we don't have that much time to focus on business. Like people who have full time entrepreneurship, no kids,
Yes.
no mate, they 15, they just out there starting living their whole best life. We have a lot of hats that we have to wear. So how do we do this space and where that we're able to still build a successful brand without feeling the guilt when we're taking time away from our kids and still doing some of the things that are still fun, right? Because sometimes when you're caught up with the back end systems of your business and growing your brand, sometimes you could lose the fun part of it. And a lot of it falls into systems, making sure you systematize things, make sure that when you're not around that your business is still functioning. I speak to a lot of my moms about this because they jump into businesses seeing only the front end.
Mm.
And part of working with Steve Harvey, these Nichols, some amazing millionaires out there, was having the access to see a back end of a business. And to see if you really want your business to grow over time, you have to have a long vision. You got to
Mm.
think about the bigger plan so that you can work on some of the infrastructure whilst you're growing, as opposed to just running quick and developing it and having everything on the front looking end. And you got to have a website and you have to have this. And meanwhile, your back end is falling apart. And when you can't show up, of course, once you can't show up, then everything else starts to fall apart. And then you begin to feel bad about yourself as a brand. So it's important out there for whoever's listening, as you're learning about all these new brands and things that you could really step boldly into for 2021 at the time of this recording, is to really take your time to build the infrastructure, to stop looking at the quick money first. It's going to require you to invest. It may require you to invest in coaching, in an academy, in a program, in something so you can learn faster. And most importantly, you got to have some of those systems set up so that when rough days are happening or your kids or things just may happen that you have to put more time into family, that your business is still running and functioning. So thank you for bringing that part up again so I could just drill that down with my listeners. They were like, are you going to talk about time again? Probably.
Yes,
Because time is always something that will show up in our business and we can see it in the results too.
exactly.
Right? All
Yes.
right. So tell us a fun fact about you. What's a fun fact about you that makes you so dope, that why people come to you? Why they come to you? There's 50 million other sex therapists out there, right? And this is a question for all y'all. So you see how I'm asking her, but I want you to think about it for yourself, because there's going to be 50 million other blank. For me, there's 50 million other business coaches out there. But then why would I seek you? What about you that makes you so special?
because I'm a super dope blend, right? You know, I come with the kinky and I come with the spiritual. I'm a poet. I'll drop a couple lyrics on you. You never know what you're gonna get when you're working with Yulinda Renee. I'm gonna give you all that and a bag of chips, okay?
So she said you got that blend, right? It's like, and I was just telling my mother this: when you make that meal, when you make that special pot, that home pot, that dish that people just come to you for, that you have that special ingredient that you put inside, that only you know what's going into this ingredient, but you know you taste everybody other gumbo or rice or whatever it is, but there's only yours that they come straight back for.
Yeah.
That's that essence you want to have as a brand, right? So all the little things that make who you are actually the part why people come to you. Like there are a lot of other business coaches, there are a lot of other sex therapists and people that are doing sexual education, but none is gonna have the flavor like Yulinda, who's talking about sacred, who's talking about spiritual things, who's talking about and can give you some therapy in the process, right? So you're dealing with the frontal things, which may be the kink and all the fun stuff, and then dealing with some of the things that may have been things that you want to uncover or not uncover, or tapping into the why, or tapping into how to have more of. So it's so dope. You know, and as you're sitting there and questioning, should I really do this? Should I really step into my own personal brand? Can I really do this as a mama? Heck yes, you can. You were already created for this. You already created for this. Everything, every process you've been through has prepped you for that next step, including being a mama. Because you've been CEO in their life all these years. So if you can CEO their life so straight, right? And that's why I tell them when they're talking about time, let me guess. If you look on your phone, all your kids' dental appointments are on your calendar. All your kids' get school stuff is in your calendar. But why isn't your business, your branding, your social media, why aren't the things for your business in your calendar also?
Mm, that part.
Mama, you've been prepped. You've been prepped. Now it's just for us to tap into how do we use the things that we were prepped in to now take us to the next level. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your gist, your joy. You are such a joy, a bundle of light, and I love bringing people like you to my station, my show. For you out there, you're in for a special treat because if you're listening to this, you know you were divinely assigned to be here. So you want to do all the things I'm gonna need you to do. Share this out, tell another person, listen to another. Make sure you leave your comments below. All the other things that requires you to be an active listener, not just someone who's passing by being passive. Hashtag nobody got time for that. And remember, life is energy. So whatever you put in, you will receive. So if you share this out, you leave a message, you go follow Yulinda, and she's going to share her information in a few minutes. That's an active listener. So when you have your brand and you're doing your things, you're going to have active viewers and active listeners because what comes in goes back out and it continues. So I wish that for you. As you give out, you will receive. And as you receive, you will continue to get. You'll continue to give out. So, Miss Linda Renee, how can they get in touch with you after they leave here?
Yes, they can find me on Facebook at Mind Your Mental with Yulinda Renee. You can find my podcast from Shadow to Sacred. It's Sex in the Raw. Instagram, Sex in the Raw. Twitter, Sex in the Raw.
Hmm. I wonder if Sex in the Raw is something important in her brand.
Maybe, brand awareness across platforms.
Yes, yes, I love it. And that's another little tip for y'all out there. Can you please stop having these 50 million directions you send in people? All right. So when we choose our brand, and I had to do this because it was hard for me initially, and I know I was wrapping up, but y'all got to hear this bonus because God just dropped it. Y'all are used to this. When you are choosing a brand or you're getting an alignment of the brand, try and have it consistent across all platforms. Because you don't want to be on an interview talking about, and on Facebook I'm this, but on Instagram I'm a whole different name, and on Twitter I'm on a whole different game. That person sitting out there like, okay, now which one I could do if you're one thing across the place, or at least two things. It's a little easier for them to follow you. So there's a brand message for you out there. Like I say, once you hear, you're gonna learn and you're gonna enjoy it at the same time. So if you, and this is my favorite question to ask everyone when they attend, if you were purposely divinely assigned to come here today and leave a message for people that are watching and listening, what message do you think you were sent here to give them? What are they supposed to receive from you besides everything else you drop? Leave them with that thing that just takes them through the rest of the day, the week, the whatever, to get them through. What?
Mm. Don't be afraid of your shadow because that's typically where your gifts live.
Shucky. Y'all, she didn't even think about it. It just came out. It was like my other things be like, oh, I gotta think about this one. She's like, don't be afraid of your shadow.
Yes, that's where your gifts live.
That's
Yep.
what your gifts lives. Thank you. I received that because basically the question was for me, y'all. I'm just really fluffing it around for y'all, but it's really for me because I was like, well, how do you think I'll spend my time? I want to make sure I'm getting my message too. We're all getting this message. So thank you for being here with us, y'all. Thank you for blessing us with your time of just listening and being so active in this conversation. I want to tell you to make sure you binge listen. Make sure you're listening to another one of either the Dr. Ali Griffith show or you're heading over to Miss Yulinda's show. I want to make sure that we are staying connected. If there are any questions, please make sure you ask us. It will be in our show notes below, whether it's for me, and there'll be information for you, Yulinda in the Yulinda Renee in the show notes. So as always, continue to be amazing in your thoughts, in your words, and in your actions. Until next time we see each other, y'all. Peace.